Hey everyone, hey Wellness Crew, and welcome to today's reading of Human Design's Gate 15 and the Gene Keys, Gene Key 15. Let's go ahead and get started. So Gate 15, Extremes. I Ching, Modesty. Astrology, Gemini. Biology, Liver. Gate 15 is a powerful, multifaceted energy. This is the gate of extremes, particularly extremes in rhythm. People with gate 15 are always trying to find their rhythm, but it changes all the time. If they can find a consistent rhythm, it will be different and extreme. This can sometimes make relationships challenging, especially if a person with gate 15 is in a relationship with a person with gate 5. People with gate 15 have a big aura. They are usually aware of it and try to hide it, but they can't. The aura of gate 15 walks into the room before the person actually does. Everyone really is turning around to look at you. Gate 15 represents the love of humanity. The gate 15 can lead to extreme expressions of love for humanity. This can be a martyr gate. Hopefully it is paired with gate 10 so that it can also be about empowerment. This energy not only gives us a deep connection to our divine siblings, but it also ties us to the natural world. It is the energy for nature, flow, animals, and the elements. Hey John, how are you? The energy here clearly shows us that our fate and the fate of the natural world are inextricably intertwined. When we work with the 15th gate, we are called to ask ourselves what contribution we want to make to the world and to our divine siblings. All right, so moving on to Gene Key 15, which again, the Gene Keys is an offshoot of Human Design that was written by Richard Redd. 15th Gene Key, an eternally flowering spring. Siddhi, Florescence. Gift, Magnetism. Shadow, Dullness. Programming partner, 10th Gene Key. Oh, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that. I've just been streaming at different times. I know I should make a schedule. That would probably be a lot better, but I just get so busy. I stream when I can. Codon ring, the ring of seeking. 15, 39, 52, 53, 54, 58. Physiology, liver. Amino acid, serine. The 15th shadow, dullness. Another day in hell. Oh my gosh, that sounds so ominous. Okay. The poet T.S. Eliot said that as far as literature is concerned, the world is divided between Shakespeare and Dante. There is no third. Whilst most people are aware of Shakespeare and probably use many of his expressions in their everyday lives without realizing it, Dante has for the most part remained a mystery to the wider world. And yet, in his supreme work, The Divine Comedy, thank you so much, John. Dante left us what is arguably the greatest map of human consciousness ever written. Whereas Shakespeare used drama, Dante used allegory as a means to communicate an immortal truth about human nature. The Divine Comedy essentially describes the geography of consciousness as it moves from the lower frequencies to the very highest. The 64 gene keys can be experienced at the three main frequency bands of the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. Dante named these same levels of consciousness hell, purgatory, and paradise, respectively. This 15th gene key is the key aspect of a complex set of genetic blueprints in human beings known as the Ring of Seeking. It is this codon in your genome that initiates your evolutionary journey from being unaware of your true nature to your eventual awakening as an expression of divine form. I haven't dyed it actually. I just curled it a little bit. It's a little bit flat from going swimming today. All your struggles, pains, agonies, triumphs, and ecstasies are written here in this codon ring because, like the Divine Comedy, it lays down the geography and topography of your journey towards awakening. Within this genetic structure, the 15th gene key plays perhaps the most vital role of all the gene keys. In a nutshell, it keeps us human. To be a human is to be a battlefield of opposing forces and frequencies, some of which pull you towards heaven and others which try to drag you downward into hell. Humanity is the bridge for consciousness to work out these many. Get so many spam calls, it is ridiculous. So if you ever see me touching my watch, it's just to try to stop a spam call from going through and to mess up my live stream. The 15th shadow of dullness describes a low-frequency human attitude to being alive in a body. It is the fear of the ordinariness of life. One of the key elements in Dante's hell is repetition. Transgressors and evildoers are frequently depicted locked into endless cycles where the consequences of their evil deeds are played out over and over for eternity. One of the greatest fears of the 15th shadow is just this: to be locked into a repeating rhythm that never changes. And yet the huge irony here, which Dante captures perfectly in his great work, is that life does indeed consist of endless repeating patterns and rhythms. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. As you enter more and more deeply into the mysteries of the 64 gene keys, you will begin to realize the truth behind the latest revelations and suppositions of physics and quantum theory. That the universe appears to be a hologram in which the same patterns are repeated again and again in infinite fractal variations. Thank you so much for the like. I really appreciate it. This 15th gene key is about the diversity of organic life. Oh, no. The focus right now is about this gene key. The 15th shadow highlights the dullness of life. It represents an attitude of human awareness, and indeed of animal and plant awareness, although in the case of other life forms, one might not use the word dullness. A dog can sit on a doorstep for a whole month doing absolutely nothing and never be bored. Indeed, when we humans observe animals, we often feel a sense of envy that they seem to have no worries, that their lives are so simple. With our self-reflective awareness, we humans are capable of something truly magical, and at the same time, quite terrifying. We are capable of attitude. Only the human neocortex makes dullness possible. Two humans going through identical experiences can literally taste two entirely different worlds. One can be in heaven and the other in hell. Not only that, your attitude affects life's events, which is the first great law of magic. Experience mirrors attitude. Attitude is in fact one of the great mysteries of life, because its source is indefinable. You may think it is the way you think, but it is not your mind, even though it operates through your thinking. You may think it is your unconscious, but it operates underneath even the deepest levels of your psychology and physiology. In short, your attitude denotes how consciousness is using your awareness at any given moment. It is the membrane that links the microcosm to the macrocosm, and it is how DNA programs and is programmed by the environment. It is a natural response to life, and its prime directive seems to consist of only one thing: growth. Finally, attitude is linked to your hormones, your brain chemistry, and to something altogether beyond your conscious perception: your spirit. The 15th shadow manifests in human behavior whenever a person's spirit feels low, for whatever reason. Oh, thank you so much, Pat. I really appreciate that. One of the great causes of shifts in your attitude is light or the lack of it, epitomized, for example, by changes in the weather. On a cloudy, gray day, all human beings experience subtle changes in their physiology, as do animals and plants. It is how you interpret those changes that dictates your attitude. No human can escape the dullness of existence. It is all simply a matter of how you deal with it. It is in fact a deeply human experience and is at the core of our basic psychology. It can lead to extreme states: depression, violence, rage, and frustration. The moment your perspective shifts, whether because of inner or outer light, the feeling of dullness can actually become incredibly exciting and vibrant. We can see how this occurs at a higher frequency in the 15th gift, the gift of magnetism. This word gives us a clue that helps us to understand the true nature of what we are calling dullness. It is based upon the lack of magnetism or polarity. Dullness is neither the top nor the bottom of a spectrum. It is actually right in the middle where there is no polarity at all. Herein lies the rub. Polarity is never dull. Rage is not dull. Violence is not dull. Only the lack of any charge, positive or negative, is dull. This last truth, that the spectrum of consciousness is not a straight line with a negative pole at one end and a positive pole at the other, is a startling insight. What the 15th shadow is telling us is that all the shadow states have at their core this same dullness, and that the shadows themselves only emerge according to how we respond to this dullness. It all depends upon how deeply you allow the dullness to sink in. The more deeply you embrace the dullness, the more mystical it becomes, like the emptiness described by the Buddha. The deepest truth of all is that life itself is meaningless. What you do with this truth determines what kind of universe you inhabit. If you get stuck at the level of your mind, you will probably try to find something, anything, to distract you from the dullness. If you get stuck at the deeper level of your feelings, you will probably fall into a kind of depression as your physical energy sinks. The programming partner of the 15th shadow is the 10th shadow, which is about self-obsession, and you cannot escape this polarity. You can only experience it from another frequency. If you can allow the dullness to permeate your entire being without being stuck in any reaction, it will cease to be dull. You will experience it as growth and at even higher levels as the flowering of consciousness known as fluorescence. This is truly the miracle of the spectrum of consciousness, that every shadow state conceals a divine gift less than a breath away. Hey, Thaddeus, thank you so much. It doesn't take a process to move from the shadow to the siddhi. It is simply a matter of pure acceptance. All three levels, the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi, are in reality one. From the shadow, you cannot see the gift or the siddhi. From the gift, you can see the shadow. In fact, you are using its creative energy. But you cannot see the siddhi. Only from the siddhi can you see everything. Thank you so much for the like. You see that there is no difference whatsoever between the actual experience of the shadow and the experience of the siddhi. The only difference is that you do not resist the state in which you find yourself in. Dullness is dullness. Life is meaningless. In order to accept this truth, you have to live it totally. There is no trick or technique that will take away the feeling. Life is absolutely ordinary, and you too must be absolutely ordinary. The only way to true paradise is through this absolute ordinariness. Now, with all this being said, this text is not something to be taken 100% literally. So don't think that, oh, okay, so everything's meaningless, then what's the point? That's not at all what this is. This is to be taken with some salt, right? This is to be taken with, it's open for interpretation. So please don't take this as like, this is 100% Bible truth. That's not what this is. This is all to be taken with like, this is open for interpretation. This is kind of like analogies in some ways. It's not literally meaning everything is just meaningless and nothingness, and just so that way we're all clear on that. All right. Repressive nature, empty. When dullness takes hold of someone with a naturally repressive nature, it manifests as emptiness. This dullness is very different from boredom, which has a certain restless and energetic quality hidden within it. This kind of emptiness is very close to depression, and in fact will inevitably lead to depression. Such a person has at some level given up. Thank you so much for the like, I appreciate it. It is a kind of negative acceptance or resignation. It is acceptance that has only gone to a certain depth within one's nature and has become stuck. Repressive natures are fear-based natures, and such people get stuck because at some level they become afraid of fear itself. This causes the locking mechanism within that leads to depression and other disorders of a similar nature. Such people can only escape these states when they discover the fear that is preventing the emptiness from moving deeper into. As we have seen, once someone allows this primordial emptiness to saturate them entirely, it is no longer experienced as something separate from them. Neither is it experienced as emptiness. Rather the opposite. It unleashes a great surge of energy and vitality. Reactive nature, extremist. If you have a reactive nature, then you will rebel against the dullness. These people do not accept the dullness either, but their nature is to escape through denial. Thank you so much for the like, I appreciate it. They often hide behind a kind of vagueness, moving from one experience to another with no real sense of rhythm or purpose. Being extremists, they can find themselves in all kinds of diverse situations and places, but again, with no real directed sense of passion. These people are always on the move, never really able to commit to anything or anyone, running from their own shadows. Such people have a hidden rage within that prevents them from being with others for very long. Only when they see through their own patterns of reaction can they begin to accept what they are running from. The 15th gift, magnetism. Hitting the Schumann resonance. The 15th gene key is such a powerful portal into life's mysteries. It is one of the gene keys that bridges humans with other life forms, and in doing so, it connects us profoundly to the living spirit of nature, or Gaia. In 1977, a scientist by the name of Otto Schumann made a remarkable discovery. He mathematically predicted the exact frequency of the Earth's heartbeat within the electromagnetic spectrum. Vibrating at 7.8 Hertz, this wavelength, called the Schumann resonance, is literally the vibrating pulse at the heart of all living organisms. This pulse binds us together as a single living organism. The 15th gift represents the inner barometer within your DNA to the Schumann resonance. All human disease comes about because of disturbances between your individual electromagnetic field and this greater field that emanates from the Earth. Whenever your frequency ceases to correspond to the Schumann resonance, you are out of kilter with your natural rhythms, and the chemistry of your physiology experiences pressure and stress. One of the great challenges for modern humanity is to learn how to slow down. The Schumann resonance is a frequency oscillation that moves far more slowly than most human beings are used to, especially in our modern world. Time moves uniquely for all life on Gaia. She has never been in a hurry. The power of Gaia is the power of greenness. If we left our planet exactly as it is now for 1,000 years, our cities and roads would once again become green forests. That is the speed, power, and pace of Gaia. Since magnetism is the binding force of all creatures and forms, the more deeply you move into the Schumann resonance, the more magnetic you become. This is all about trusting in the natural ebb and flow of life events. You can see how the agitation of the lower frequencies so easily experiences these slower frequencies as dullness. The fact is that when the frequency of your DNA hits the Schumann resonance, your experience of time stops completely. These are truths that are still experienced and embodied by many of the indigenous cultures alive on our planet today. To live closely to the Earth's natural rhythms is to experience the wisdom and clarity that comes of moving more slowly through the world. As you ascend in consciousness to the gift level of frequency, you experience for the first time the underlying beauty of life's diversity through the subtle mutations that take place in this 15th gene key. The very state that you feared was taking away your life force actually becomes an awesome font of vital magnetic energy. Dullness is no longer dull. It is as though you were peering into an empty vessel and suddenly realize that it isn't empty, but full of potential. This simple shift in attitude allows you to unlock the higher magnetic power latent within your DNA. Such magnetic power is the foundation for the law of attraction, the universal law that draws towards you that which serves your higher purpose, be it money, people, or resources. Until you hit the Schumann resonance, the effortless power of this law cannot be realized in your life. People displaying the 15th gift as a powerful trait emanate a tangible physical presence. They stand out from others in this respect. The gift of magnetism makes a person physically glow with life force, literally making them appear larger than life. It is a gift filled with enthusiasm and openness, and above all, it is a gift of love. As a universal unifying force, the magnetism unleashed by this 15th gift allows you to harness all the power of the natural world. Such people often have a very strong connection with nature or with the animal, plant, and organic kingdoms, either personally or through their work. Being rooted in the natural world and its diversity of rhythms, the 15th gift has a natural respect for all sentient life. Just as magnetism holds families of the same species together. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that. People with the 15th gift feel a deep kinship with humanity. This is a gift that will readily accept and work with any extreme human behavior or sphere. Magnetism does not exclude anyone, and the more diversity these people encounter in life, the more fulfilled they are. Thank you. The real beauty of the 15th gift, however, lies in its acceptance of ordinariness. To experience life through this gift is, in the words of William Blake, to see heaven in a wildflower. It is to view the holographic vista of life as complete exactly as it appears before you. To the 15th gene key, there can be no separation between the mystical and the mundane, because life is experienced as an immortal journey through all the mythic strands and stories of human culture. Through the 15th gene key, you stand amidst the mundane as a warrior. The most boring everyday issue can seem to you no less than an opportunity for personal transformation. The great spiritual trials are not met in the extremes, but in the everyday, in your relationships, whilst doing the dishes, cleaning the house, or going to work. This is the origin of the mystical saying that in order to find heaven, you never need even walk out of your own front door. You could summarize the gift of magnetism as being the power to influence and be influenced by means of the aura. Magnetism is all about the power of aura. As Goethe said, everything alive creates an atmosphere around itself. All life forms radiate bioenergetic energy fields, which interact with the environment through geometric laws. It is this 15th gift that unlocks the power of the aura to conduct and relay information between different forms. The more resonant your aura becomes with the Earth's natural frequencies, the wider your aura spreads, bringing you into contact with many of the hidden realities and kingdoms within nature. Eventually, as the frequency of your aura comes into perfect resonance, it interlocks with the Earth grid itself, and your consciousness expands exponentially, becoming one with Gaia and all creatures. The 15th siddhi, Florescence. The emergence of Shambhala. The 15th siddhi is a quality known as florescence, a word that essentially refers to the process of bursting into a flower. Each of the siddhis, in fact, represents a process of florescence. That is what the higher self represents, your ultimate flowering. Florescence cannot be chased, hurried, or enforced. It is a state that occurs to humans sporadically, meaning that no one can predict if or when it will occur to a particular person. One thing alone is certain: we humans recognize it when it occurs in another. A person in whom consciousness is spontaneously flowering is a person surrounded by magic, by light, and by a tangible magnetic mystery. As the zenith of human magnetism, fluorescence manifests like a supernova through the human aura. And once it has begun, it keeps expanding and expanding into deeper and deeper dimensions. Such a person becomes a magnet for the many others who hunger for such higher states. Although fluorescence cannot be predicted, there are certain signs that may appear before it occurs. If we look to the 10th gene key, the gift of naturalness, which is the programming partner of the 15th gene key, we find a clue. When a person becomes truly natural and comfortable with who they are, when they become truly accepting of theirs and others' lives, they are close to flowering. Fluorescence is experienced when awareness finally comes to rest, because only when awareness stops seeking itself can it truly rest. When it does come to rest, consciousness, which was within it all along, finally shines through. The ancients and sages said that the mind must be still, or that all thought must stop, in order for reality to be perceived. This has actually been misinterpreted through the ages. It is not thought that must cease, but identification with thought. It is the thinker that must cease. Hearing the above truth, many have sought and continue to seek the source behind awareness. However, no amount of tinkering with awareness can reveal the truth. This is why there is no technique or system that can ensure enlightenment. Awareness has come to rest of its own accord. It is a great and wondrous mystery. The fact that there is nothing that can be done to speed up our flowering can be seen as both a blessing and a curse. To the mind, it seems a curse because the mind likes having something to do. To the inner being, it is a great blessing because the embodiment of this truth will lead to progressive levels of relaxedness. Ultimately, fluorescence depends on nothing. It cannot be created, not by meditation, not by good karma, not by any form of effort, not even by effortlessness. Fluorescence is grace. It occurs whenever and wherever it feels like occurring. The 15th gene key forms the main stem of the codon ring of seeking, a multidimensional genetic subprogram in all human beings. Each member of this chemical family ignites a different pressure that begs to be resolved in our lives. For example, the 54th gene key seeks to rise up socially, spiritually, and materially, whereas the 52nd gene key seeks a state of complete rest. It is through the mystery of the 15th siddhi that all this pressure to seek is finally brought to an end. If you look at nature, which is the root of the word fluorescence, you will see that nature produces many buds on many different plants, but that all plants flower at unique times. Furthermore, the buds on each particular plant open collectively in a great rush of dynamic energy. In human beings, enlightenment operates in the same way, through different time periods and epochs. Enlightenment never occurs to just a single person, but successively jumps across generations through a certain time period. It is a phenomenon that, once ignited, will play itself out through many different fractal flowerings and many different kinds of human lives. From time immemorial, immemorial, I said it right. Mankind has devised intuitive systems to understand the rhythms and timing of when people are born. There are obvious and fundamental truths that different cultures have discovered. Each of the 64 gene keys has a position within the arc of the year, creating a unique genetic astrology for each of us. People born with the 15th gene key prominent in their hologenetic profile are nearly always born at or close to either the spring equinox or the summer solstice. This is because the power of both the equinox and the solstice symbolizes the power of fluorescence. When all of nature is bursting forth and later reaching its zenith. A person manifesting the 15th siddhi thus has a vibrancy that is simply irresistible. Fluorescence as a word goes much further than the word flowering. Fluorescence refers to a process of exponential bursting into flower, as though the focus is not simply on a single flower, but an entire tree of flowers all bursting into bud at the same time. This is what such people do when the grace of fluorescence occurs to them. They flower in many, many directions at once. Their potential seems endless. The diversity of their interests appears inexhaustible, as though they were flowering in every possible sphere of life at the same time. Such a being cannot stop anywhere and allow themselves to remain with any particular path or way. The awareness within them does what it must do. It reflects the energy of spring, always moving, growing, exploring, and delighting in whatever passes before it. That's like 4 scam calls in just this live stream alone. I think since January, I don't know what has happened, but since January, I have been getting so many scam calls. It has been insane. Sorry to like break away from this for a second, but oh my gosh. Okay. The 15th siddhi can only occur when the mind has completely given up control. Fluorescence is utterly confusing to the mind. It is too spontaneous, too unpredictable, and too wild for the mind to follow, let alone manage. It would be rather like a writer writing 100 books simultaneously and jumping at random between them, whilst at the same time holding down 100 other jobs and moving randomly between them. Fluorescence follows nature's own wild, organic rhythms, which demand an attitude of trust, surrender, and childish delight. When you come into perfect harmony with the Schumann resonance, time itself will stop within your being. This is an impossible experience to relay in words. In the words of Christ, it is when we mystically inherit the earth. We come to experience the mystery of philos anthropos, the pure love of humanity embodied in the principle of philanthropy. All of life is now seen as philanthropic, constantly giving its own essence back into the whole. This codon ring of seeking is currently undergoing a deep mutative process that is changing the essential rhythmic structure of all life on our planet. Above all, it is bringing humans into greater awareness of the delicate balance of living biological systems, and in particular, plants. As the pressure of human seeking burns away the greenness of our planet through pollution and industrial expansion, we are coming to realize that we are also responsible for these great changes in global rhythms. Our climate is simply the byproduct of a deeper energetic change that is taking place. Deep within this genetic codon, the dynamic energy of liberation is moving via the electrical and explosive 39th gene key. This gene key in its higher frequency is actually a precursor of the great change that will transform all life on Earth through the 55th gene key. But it all begins here in the ring of seeking, with an amino acid known as serine. Human seeking will eventually burn itself out. That is the higher trajectory we as a species are following, whatever it looks like on the surface. Each of the 6 gene keys in this codon ring will awaken in a sequence, beginning with the 39th gene key and ending here with the 15th gene key. As this awakening moves through humanity and nature, we will experience powerful, subtle earth changes as our primary magnetic grids are recalibrated to a higher frequency. What the 15th siddhi really does for humanity is align us with a higher evolution. It is always difficult to see evolutions beyond your own. Nonetheless, they exist. Our great teachers and mythologies have always been aware of them. The earth itself contains subtle kingdoms of a far higher frequency than humanity. And these Devic kingdoms are also preparing to take a leap in consciousness by merging with human consciousness. The greatest fluorescence will occur when hidden higher forces latent within the earth itself rise to the surface and absorb human consciousness. This awakening from within has long been a part of all human mythology, which tells of great cities within the earth and a shining jewel at their center known as Shambhala or Agartha. Such myths testify to the genetic change that is sweeping through all DNA on our planet. It is even impacting the evolution of the galaxy and cosmos itself. Fluorescence is a mirror of the supernova we see in the heavens above, but it is a supernova that takes place deep within the structure of form itself. In a nutshell, fluorescence is the explosive chain reaction of enlightenment of all forms to the true nature of consciousness. It is stamped into the destiny of every living creature, and it is coming to humanity very soon. All right, so let's get back to gate 15 of human design. And these are just some affirmations and some questions that you can ask yourself. All right, so affirmations. My life adds to the greatness of humanity. My work benefits the world. I accept unconditionally the broad spectrum of diversity and rhythm that makes up humanity, and I surrender to the larger flow of life. I am in awe of the magnificence of mankind, and my awe inspires me to be of service to the greater good. And these are some questions that you can ask yourself, some things you can kind of journal on or meditate on or just kind of think about based off of the readings today of gate 15 and the 15th gene key. Where do you have rhythm, and where do you need to adjust your rhythm to be more in the flow? What does the natural world seek to share with you? Do you need to align yourself more with nature? What contributions are you making to humanity? Are you acknowledging your service? Do you need or want to deepen your commitment? And hopefully next week we'll be able to dig into gate 16 and gene key 16. But outside of that, thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream. I greatly appreciate it. I will see you on my next video or live stream. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off. And I'll see you next time. Be well, stay wild as well. Bye.